those who succeed. Help us to always have a heart of compassion for those who need help. Give us a heart of service for everyone in our county, Lord, that we would thrive and come together and just celebrate who we are as a county, Lord. We love you and we give you thanks, and we ask all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Good morning, everybody. I just want to note a couple of things. First is we're having some challenges with our microphones, which I think you can all tell. So I want to thank our entire technical team and our clerk staff for pivoting very, very quickly to get us prepared for this meeting so we can continue forward. Today's a very exciting day in our county. Today is our annual State of the County address, and it is absolutely my pleasure to introduce to you our chairman of the board, Buck Condit, who will be delivering today's address. And I also want to thank and recognize many of the dignitaries that are in today's room that have joined us for this occasion. We appreciate you all very, very much for being here. Thank you on behalf of our entire Board of Supervisors and our county leadership team.
Thank you, Jody. Good morning. We are honored to have you here today, here with us today. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge and thank my fellow board members. Let's begin with our 2024 chair, Manny Grayball, whose State of the County address was, as the kids say, off the hook. He is a community connector, especially when it comes to our local businesses, and you can't beat his great sense of style and humor. Our Vice Chair, Vito Chiesa, is our most senior supervisor on this board. He takes his time to visit, learn about everyone he encounters, from department heads and county employees to taxi drivers to door dashers, you name it. I appreciate his vast knowledge and experience when it comes to governance, especially in the areas of agriculture and transportation. Supervisor Terry Withrow, he is a solution-oriented peacemaker, guided by his faith. He has a passion for supporting our most vulnerable communities. And my cousin and supervisor, Chance Condit, as you can see, I have known him his whole life. I was a few years younger back then. Supervisor Condit is a man who knows how to mobilize his constituents when it comes to issues they're passionate about. He is truly connected with those he represents in his district. I would also like to thank our county CEO, Jody Hayes, his executive team, our department leaders, our partners from across the region, and all of the dignitaries joining us here today. It is an honor and a privilege to serve this county alongside each of you, and your presence here matters. I also want to recognize the many county employees, often the unsung heroes, who carry out difficult, essential work on behalf of our community. Every day, often without recognition or fanfare. To those who support and protect our families and children, to the mental and behavioral health experts walking alongside individuals on their most difficult days, to the public health professionals who lift up the well-being of our entire community, to the road crews and infrastructure teams who keep us safe and moving, to our law enforcement and legal professionals ensuring justice and safety, to those who safeguard our resources, inspire learning, maintain our community spaces, and create pathways to opportunity, and to the facilities and administrative staff whose quiet excellence keeps our operations running. Thank you. Your work matters deeply, and we see you. It is this collective commitment from every role, every department that gives meaning to this year's theme, We Are Strong and Resilient. I also want to thank my family for their unwavering support. Kim, Ethan, Eric, I love you very much, and I want to acknowledge your sacrifices. Public service is a commitment that affects the whole household, and I couldn't do this work without your support. Ethan couldn't be here today due to work, but I'm sure he's watching online with the other 5 million viewers. And I would also like to thank my brother, Lieutenant Brock Condit, who came up and gave the invocation, and as well as my mother-in-law and father-in-law, Dan and Phyllis Reeves, for being with us here today. Our county's strength and resilience come from not only strategy or policy, but from the people behind the work. Every department, every role, and every partnership contributes to building a county that adapts, improves, and delivers. Across our region, we identify strengths, double down on success, and embrace change when needed. It's about delivering results, not just staying the course, but adjusting ourselves when the winds shift, always guided by our core values. Our commitment to the people we serve and the partnerships that make progress possible is at the heart of everything we do. It is through these relationships, built on trust, collaboration, and shared purpose, and that we can meet challenges, create opportunities, and make lasting impacts. This is what drives us every day, and it is the foundation of our mission. We build community. Over the course of my service, I've had the opportunity to join our care team as they visited some of our most vulnerable neighbors, those living in makeshift encampments along the freeway and our rivers. What I have witnessed has been difficult, conditions that no one should endure. The first thing that strikes you is what you see and smell and the desperate living conditions. And yet, our dedicated teams walk straight into those environments without judgment, just compassion, and the spirit of service. They listen, they build trust, they offer help. One experience that stands out was an encounter with a family, children living in dire conditions like this, parents absent, and a relative unsure if they could continue to care for them. And still, our team stayed. They offered every service available, working to bring dignity, safety, and support to that family. Another case that struck me. We returned to check on a man living along the river whose leg wound had begun festering. The team recognized the danger he was in and if he didn't receive emergency care. He was brushing off our concern, but walking away isn't in our DNA. He wanted to shower and clean clothes to restore dignity before he would accept medical help. Our team arranged both, then stayed with him until he said yes to medical care, most likely saving his leg and perhaps his life. Regardless of an individual's status or situation, whether they are injured, wrestling with mental health challenges, substance use, or simply facing hard times, our approach stays the same. Each person matters. That's the culture we've built in Stanislaus County. Our homeless outreach model is deeply intentional and highly customized. Unlike traditional programs, we meet people exactly where they are, literally. Services are provided in the community, under bridges, on riverbanks, in parked cars, and on sidewalks, wherever someone feels safest. By embedding county agencies directly into the field, our care team can remove common barriers to access and expedite services, connecting our most vulnerable neighbors to help without delay. This model is more than innovative, it's effective. It recently received the ultimate compliment when San Joaquin County adopted our program model as their community outreach efforts. This kind of validation speaks volumes. It reinforces what we already know, that compassion, mobility, and cross-agency collaboration create the conditions where dignity and recovery are possible. With that same commitment to meeting people where they are and building systems that truly serve, we've applied a similar philosophy to how we respond in times of crisis, through coordination, preparedness, and a seamless network of support. As you see on the screen, our countywide emergency response system relies on Stanislaus Regional 911 Dispatch, the EMS agency, the Sheriff's Office, probation, the District Attorney, Victim Services, the Fire Service, the Office of Emergency Services Fire Warden, the Public Defender, and other partners. Each spoke matters. If one weakens, the whole wheel wobbles. I've personally seen the power of this network in action, both as a firefighter and now as a supervisor. Last year, we strengthened the wheel by elevating the Office of Emergency Services, OES, to its own department, ensuring the valley's floods, wildfires, earthquakes, pandemics, and even the occasional tornado meet a coordinated, prepared response. Thanks to the Sheriff's Department's guidance, support, and the strong foundation built, our OES stands ready to serve every corner of the county with strength and confidence. Of course, true safety extends beyond 911 responses. It also embraces the health of our minds and bodies. Mental health is public health. We continue targeted funding and a coordinated care through behavioral health and recovery services. One new example is Dignity Village Modesto, an interim bridge housing project funded by a $3.4 million state grant. It is located on City of Modesto property, built in partnership with nonprofit developer Dignity Moves.
Dignity Village Modesto is an interim housing site where individuals who are homeless on the streets are transitioning into permanent housing.
We have this facility with services right on site that can help these individuals deal with their issues, their addictions, their mental health issues.
They each have their own story and their own challenges, and a place like Dignity Village will provide wraparound services that will help them individually.
Housing is the first step for individuals to be able to feel safe and secure, and we're so fortunate to have brought this in our community.
So as the state funding comes down specific for this type of housing opportunity, we engage our partners, one being the City of Modesto. They have a parcel of land on the corner of 9th and E Street that was vacant, and we just built off of that partnership. There are other communities being built like this in up and down the state.
We have taken a concept of Dignity Moves and bring that to Modesto.
This is going to have 42 rooms. I mean, your own private space, that is a game changer in people willing to come. I really think that if we can offer people a private space where they can have their pet, they don't have to worry that their things will get stolen when they leave.
Welcome and thank you for joining us today for the opening of Dignity Village Modesto. The City of Modesto and Behavioral Health and Recovery Services have delivered a project for our community that will increase our local capacity to provide safe, comfortable, a place for people to recover from the challenges of their life, and in particular here, serious mental illness and substance use disorders.
Since the grand opening, I'm happy to report that 3 individuals have already successfully transitioned out of Dignity Village, 2 into transitional and permanent supportive housing, respectively, and a third who was reunified with family and returned home. The community is now at full capacity with 42 residents, and we look forward to many more success stories as they continue on their path to stability. These numbers may seem small to some, but it's important to remember that the Care and Dignity Village programs are specifically designed to reach a few hundred of the most vulnerable individuals in our community. In that context, these numbers represent a strong and promising start. These kinds of outcomes are only possible when state and local government, nonprofits, and service providers move in step, working together with a shared sense of purpose. From grassroots organizations to regional collaboratives, these partnerships are the backbone of our county's ability to adapt, grow, and most importantly, meet people where they are and serve them with compassion, respect, and purpose. Whether it's working with cities on urban pocket annexations, advancing health and safety infrastructure with the state, or launching economic initiatives with local nonprofits, we succeed because we work together. Our Department of Environmental Resources works side by side with our local water districts like Oakdale and Modesto irrigation districts, as well as those in Knights Ferry and Diablo Grande. The Sheriff's Department tailors public safety contracts to each city's needs. Property tax sharing agreements keep more revenue local while promoting balanced growth. And as we invest in new sectors, we also double down on the ones that have always anchored our economy. Stanislaus County remains one of the most productive agricultural areas in the nation. And agriculture isn't just part of our past, it's key to our economic future. We are, at our core, still an ag-based economy. That really isn't changing anytime soon, and we proudly embrace it. Thanks to the vision of early leaders and the continuing foresight of our local irrigation districts, notably the Turlock Irrigation District, the first of its kind in California, we've had a century-long head start in securing reliable surface water. Gravity-fed water from the Sierra foothills delivered long before GPS and GIS now powers one of the state's cleanest, greenest energy systems. This infrastructure not only sustains our farms, it fuels our competitive electricity rates that make us a hub for agricultural processing. 8 of our 10 largest manufacturing employers are ag-based. Names like Gallo, Blue Diamond, Foster Farms, and Stanislaus Foods are just a few examples of businesses thriving here because of our agricultural strength. This success has fostered an industry cluster that includes world-class nurseries such as Dave Wilson and Birchall Nursery, generating jobs and growing our local economy. According to the most recent crop report, Stanislaus County ranks 6th in California and in the top 10 nationally for agricultural production, with milk and almonds leading the way. That's a testament not only to our farmers, but also to the systems that support them. Because of coordinated management through local sustainable groundwater management agencies and the stability provided by our surface water rights, we are better positioned than many regions to mitigate the long-term impacts of groundwater sustainability mandates. This kind of resilience doesn't happen by accident. It's the result of cooperation, planning, and commitment to long-term viability. We know agriculture only thrives when the people behind it do. That's why we are establishing a farm worker advisory committee to ensure we listen directly to those who help produce the food that feeds our community, our state, and our country. Our strength lies in our people, and we want to ensure their voices are part of the conversation shaping our future. We are also proud to be home to the largest county farm bureau in California, surpassing Fresno County, which is twice our size, both in population and production. That speaks volumes about how engaged and connected our local farmers are. Stanislaus County agriculture is a community, not just an industry. And as we look toward the future, we recognize that traditional crops and markets alone won't sustain us. Innovation will. Our byproducts, often mislabeled as ag waste, are becoming the raw materials of new industries. Almond hulls, walnut shells, and tree biomass have value as livestock feed, soil amendments, and even advanced materials. We are partnered with Beam Circular and institutions like Berkeley National Lab to explore better uses for these materials. This is the frontier of a more circular, sustainable agricultural economy. Proof that sustainability and profitability can grow together. Strategic investment is how we turn ideas like these into action, and the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, gave us an unprecedented opportunity to do so. Stanislaus County received $107 million in federal ARPA funds. We focused on these strategic areas with a willingness to adjust as needs evolved. You know, I still haven't heard of any other county doing what we did with our ARPA funds. Maybe some are out there, but not like us. We made serious investments in infrastructure and the economy, finding solutions to rebuild post-pandemic and spark long-term economic momentum. Every dollar has a purpose, and every project is moving us towards a stronger future. Our board committed to using one-time federal funding to make long-term, community-driven investments with lasting impacts that truly matter. We asked, what can we invest in a better future for our working families? The answer took shape in Stanislaus 2030, our public-private economic development partnership built with input from over 200 community leaders. It focuses on creating middle-income, middle-skilled jobs, because over half of our residents struggle financially, even though most are working. But economic growth requires more than jobs. It requires childcare infrastructure that supports working parents. That's where our partnership with Nurture comes in. Originally developed in Merced County, the Nurture model caught our attention as a promising solution to address both the child care gap and the need for entrepreneurial opportunities. We brought the concept to Stanislaus County, and in just 18 months, the Nurture pilot helped launch 75 new licensed home-based child care businesses, creating over 600 new child care slots in Stanislaus County. Half of the new providers are Spanish-speaking, and they've built strong peer networks that continue to support one another. These providers will enable nearly 800 parents to participate in the workforce over the next decade, generating $20 million in economic impact. The model is affordable, about $5,000 per new child care slot, and it's scalable. Other counties, including San Joaquin, are already following our lead. This is what innovative economic development looks like. Nurture is just one example of how we are always looking for great ideas, wherever they originate, that we can bring to scale here in Stanislaus County to serve our residents better. If you know someone who is passionate about working with children, send them to this website. Cohorts launch year-round, and support is available in English and in Spanish. Innovative programs are possible because of the strong financial foundation laid by those who came before us. We tip our cap to past boards of supervisors for their disciplined, fiscally conservative approach, decision that positioned us to weather challenges and to invest in long-term solutions. Thanks to that legacy, Stanislaus County remains resilient. We were able to protect core services, respond to emerging needs, and continue delivering for our communities. Because we've managed public dollars with care, foresight, and a commitment to sustainability. Despite ongoing uncertainty at the state and federal levels, the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget holds the line on core services, $1.87 billion, reflecting a modest increase of just under 1% in comparison to the 2025 adopted budget. It's a clear reminder that conservative fiscal management can go hand in hand with bold, forward-looking ideas. One of those goals is improving the roads and bridges that connect our communities. We are actively pursuing funding and regulatory flexibility to modernize our bridge system and strengthen the infrastructure that keeps Stanislaus County moving. Bridges connect more than roads. They connect people, goods, communities, and are especially important when it comes to emergency responses. They are how we take our kids to school, get products to market, and connect rural and urban life. I've crossed just about every one of our county bridges during my years in the fire service, and let me tell you, some of them are too tight for comfort. When a big rig comes at you and you're on a narrow bridge, it can be pretty nerve-wracking. There is no room for mistakes. And I've seen what happens when there are mistakes, and that's why bridge modernization matters. Our county bridge network of 225 bridges is the second oldest in California, with an average age of 80 years old. Heavier emergency vehicles, electric vehicles, and modern farm equipment stress aging structures. The safety risks are real, and the need is urgent. We are doing what we can with available resources. We currently have 20 active bridge projects across the county. We continue to advocate for our fair share of state and federal support, as well as regulatory relief in our conversations with legislators. We are proud to have completed the Crow's Landing Bridge project, which crosses over the San Joaquin River between Carpenter and Marshall Road, connecting nearby Stanislaus County communities. The bridge serves roughly 8,000 vehicles daily. 20% of it is truck traffic. A Caltrans assessment determined the original bridge to be structurally deficient, functionally obsolete, scour critical, and in need of full replacement to provide a safer river crossing. The new bridge features enhancements such as 2 12-foot wide lanes in each direction, a center median, a dedicated turn lane, and an additional center median lane for improved merging to Crow's Landing from Carpenter Road. And then there's the new tool that's making waves, literally paving a better path on our more than 1,500 miles of roadway. The one-person patcher. The one-person patcher is transforming how we repair roads across the county. It's where innovation meets service. Designed for less traveled roads, this equipment requires just one person to operate. It can patch potholes, alligatoring, and even gopher runs in just minutes. It's 3 times faster than a traditional 4-person crew and is already receiving positive feedback from residents and road crews alike. Here's how it works.
So the first step we do is we come up to the patch and we blow off the surrounding area to make sure it's nice, clean hole for the oil. Then the second thing is when the arm comes out, it starts spraying the oil down. As it's spraying the oil down, it also shoots out rock, and the oil and rock combination are what fill in the hole. So once he goes over the pass, he'll go over it a couple times with oil and rock and hit dry on it again. And then on the final few passes, he comes up with the oil, sprays oil and rock combined together. It's called the tack. And then hits it again with the dry rock and then lets it dry, and that's the final product right there.
And with fewer workers on the roadway, it's also safer. Traditional crews are now freed up to tackle larger projects, making our road maintenance operation more efficient. This new equipment is working out so well that our Public Works team is working on purchasing 2 more. Moving on, let's talk about one of my favorite little projects in the community of Valley Home. Every school day, Harold Pope School students walk to Valley Home School for lunch, but the current path they must take is far from safe. With no dedicated sidewalks, students are forced to walk directly along the edge of the roadway, often just feet from passing vehicles. Their route crosses multiple intersections without proper pedestrian markings or signals, creating additional risks. This is not the level of safety we should accept for our children. That's why I'm proud to share that we expect construction to begin this fall to install a safe concrete walkway with drainage swells. This new infrastructure will provide a protected, accessible route for students, improve stormwater management, and give parents peace of mind that their children can walk to lunch each day safely and with confidence. Last but not least, we are looking forward to the North County Corridor project. Phase 1 of the project begins at the Clarabelle and Oakdale Road intersection and connects to Claus Road. It will include the construction of a new 4-lane access-controlled expressway, a new interchange at Roselle Avenue, grade separation structures over the BNSF rail line, Terminal Avenue, and the MID main canal, and new frontage roads to maintain access to adjacent properties. You know, it's funny, I remember riding in the back of my dad's pickup truck as a kid, back when you could do that, and we were talking through the sliding glass window, and he was discussing this infrastructure project that was going to make it so much easier to move across the county from the eastern edge. That was more than 4 decades ago. The government has never been accused of being quick, but we are trying. Here we are now with construction underway, and the completion of Phase 1 is expected. The completion of Phase 1 is expected to be completed in 2028. I invite you to visit the project website to learn more. Through clear intent, strategic action, honest evaluation, we're making Stanislaus County stronger. We choose collaboration, we choose innovation, and we choose to lead with both courage and compassion. This work is not always fast, it is not always easy, but it's always worth it, because what we do here together will outlast us. Every bridge we build, literally and figuratively, brings us closer to a more connected community. Every person we serve with dignity and care reinforces our core value, that each person matters. That's the heart of Stanislaus County. That's how we build community. And that's how together we become a community of choice where people live, work, and thrive, a place worthy of calling home. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to take a brief 15-minute recess.
Here. Moving on to public comment period. We do have written comments.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Yes, I am Sheriff Jeff Dirksey. I usually forget that part when I do public comment, so I wanted to make sure I get that out. As the board knows, about 5 years ago, we formed something called Project Resolve. Right, as we looked at a lot of the law enforcement related issues across the country, we formed that group, which some of you were participants. And ultimately at its peak, it had about 30 or 40 folks, and we discussed a variety of topics pertinent to law enforcement specifically, and public safety in the community and community relations and so on. And that has, I think that was a great effort back when we started it, and we've kind of morphed it into what I call Project Resolve 2.0 today, and it's still an ongoing effort. And I think we've made tremendous progress in our community when we talk about this idea of relationships and transparency and public safety. But I think that, you know, in the last 6 months, if you look back at kind of again, that narrative that is going on across our country and even locally here in our area, we have to do more. And so with that, it is my intention that we're going to form what we are calling, at least initially, the Sheriff's Advisory Council. And we are going to start this up here in due course. And it is going to be a more formalized and kind of a more intentional effort to do exactly what Project Resolve started 5 years ago, but with some more specificity to it. And the general timeline of that is that we expect to have applications out by the end, let's see, it's July, yeah, so the end of the month. There will be an application period, and we will select ideally about 15 members that represent our community that can do just that, advise the sheriff's office on a variety of things and do deep dives into issues that everyone is concerned about. And so we are going to be doing that, and more details are going to follow. And I'm going to just kind of leave it at more details are going to follow. But I think the key thing that I wanted to put on the board's radar is that I'm going to ask each of you to appoint someone from your districts to that committee. And to be very upfront, given some of the nature of the conversations that we'll be having, there will be an abbreviated background process to it. We're going to have to do that just for, there's some legal reasons for if you have access to information within my office, you have to meet certain criteria. So I'm just going to put that out there right now, but it's going to be the most abbreviated version of that we can. And then there will be a variety of other facets of our community that are invited to participate as well. Business leaders, you know, community organization leaders, or, you know, their designee, a couple members at large, and so on. Again, we're going to hit that 15. Applications will be out by the end of this month. We will select them in August at some point by the end of the month, and announce that in probably right after Labor Day would be kind of the target date, with the first meeting most likely in early October. And so that is what we are looking forward to doing. And we think that that is going to be, again, kind of the next iteration. We're not going to call it Project Resolve, but it's kind of the next iteration of that effort. And we think it is going to bear fruit for our community. And so, well, I know this is public comment, and we can't really address it, but if there's any questions in general nature, I'm happy to answer them.
Not questions, just a comment. I remember when Project Resolve was started, and at that time, there was a huge need for law enforcement to work with the community and earn trust amongst the community. And I think it was a valid effort, and I think what you're doing now, I commend that. I feel this further strengthens at a time when relationships between law enforcement and the community can be even further strengthened on multiple facets. I think this will allow for that for people. I know in the past weeks we've had people that have encouraged some type of communication mechanism that's directly aligned with the sheriff's office. And given what you're describing, this allows for that. And I think having it from different, all 5 districts really gives representation throughout the county, and then working with business groups, social groups at large, I think that allows for everybody to feel that they have a direct lineage or a direct linkage with the sheriff's office. I'm assuming you'll be convening those meetings, which would allow for them to, there could be different agendas on a given month, but if something does happen in the community that they want to address with you directly, I think that would allow that opportunity, and that's something that I can really get behind and really support, because whenever something does come up where we get asked and those questions get brought to us, and we're not the experts by any means, and as the elected sheriff, I think at times we don't want to just keep pushing people your way to say, this is the sheriff, talk to them, because we have a responsibility to the community to answer those questions. But now this gives us a great avenue to direct people your way without overwhelming you with all the different things that are happening within your department or within the community. So thank you for taking this effort. I think I'm fully supportive of it, and it means a lot that you're showing leadership to take this head on. And I know the community and for myself, very thankful for that. So thank you.
I think Manny took all my time. Just real quick, thank you for doing this, just everything Manny said. I just appreciate kind of your courage and your confidence in your department to do this, and not to subject it to it, but to have them be a part of this, I think is a great sign on your part of how confident you are in your department and the people that are doing there. And so, anyway, I appreciate your courage and your leadership stepping up and doing this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Sheriff, I've participated now for 5 years in Project Resolve. It has more, but I still find great value in it for a little different purpose than what it was originally intended. And so I do applaud the courage to do this. I'm going to be on board with what we come up with. But I do, there was not that disrespectful Trumper, who I hold in such high esteem. He's the board-certified psychologist who, if you're a police officer, probation officer, he's about the department in this county up until a few years ago before Jocelyn took over. He was the person that okayed you to duty, and probably you too, right?
I am a little too new for that. Phil was gone right before I started.
Yeah, and so he's had a lot of experience. He wrote an op-ed about a potential issue. Again, I don't speak to it's an issue, but my ears perk up when I hear from Phil. I think he's as grounded in everything. So we look at those and we try and create something that works for everyone. I appreciate the courage stepping in.
Well, thank you. And if I can speak about Phil, I agree. I have tremendous respect for Dr. Trumpeter. We do not agree on everything. I know that may shock people that I have differing opinions at times, but we don't agree on everything. But I have tremendous respect for him and the conversations that we can have. He and I actually have an ongoing dialogue on a kind of a specific topical matter, and he's actually come into my executive team. I think it's in 2 weeks, so that we can kind of continue that conversation in a broader form, just for what that's worth.
Appreciate your comment, Sheriff. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next up is Don Back. If I pronounce that right, Don?
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to talk to you today. I'd like to bring up one subject that's very important to me. I think we could bring back the YMCA to Stanislaus County. The YMCA is a very special program based out of Wichita, Kansas, and I think that they would give help to churches and to public entities. YMCA is known for doing a lot of good for youth and for older people too. I would like your cooperation, and whatever I can do to put it together, I'd like to do it. Any questions?
Appreciate your comments, Don. Thank you.
Okay. Second thing I'd like to say, I'd like to see Stanislaus County to bring in a special glider airplane, a powered glider airplane that could go for search and rescue. In my military experience, I've seen fast airplanes fly over a person that's dying. Glider airplanes fly slower, lower, and they can get things done. I would make that suggestion, probably using the Civil Air Patrol auspices, and I think that'd be a very good idea also. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Next up is May Rico from Hayden.
Good morning. My name is May Rico. I am the Executive Director of Haven, and I am here to share concerns about new provisions in HUD funding requirements. Haven provides services to survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking, regardless of gender, gender expression, sexual orientation, and immigration status. And we'd like to be able to keep doing that, which is why I'm here. I'm part of a statewide cohort of domestic violence service providers trying to address the unique challenges faced by those experiencing both intimate partner violence and housing instability or homelessness. That group's understanding is that every continuum of care has received direction from HUD to include certain language in new contracts moving forward, certifying compliance with the new executive orders. In particular, the orders specified are those targeting transgender, gender fluid, and non-binary residents seeking services and immigrants seeking services. And my understanding is that you are the entity who will decide whether to agree that our continuum of care and awardees will comply with those orders or decide to fight it. So gender first. I guarantee you, no one is using HUD money to try and convince people that they should change their gender or whatever it is inculcating is meant to mean. However, part of the direction that comes with this is to replace any gender question for stats with two options only, male or female. Now, it might be easy to think that's not a big deal. If you really need help, you're just going to mark what you need to mark and move on. And that's probably true, but here's what else comes with that. I'm going to ask you to imagine for a moment what it would be like if every time you walked into your house, you were afraid of the person you lived with. If you went to bed every night wondering if you'd make it to morning without waking up to an assault, and if every morning you prayed to just get through one more day alive. Because you know you have to leave, you're terrified to stay. But in addition to all the other barriers everyone experiencing domestic violence goes through, you have another one. Every time you go outside your door, you have another fear and another choice. Do I hide who I am and pass, feeling like I'm dying a little inside every minute I have to lie? Or do I express myself freely and risk emotional abuse, threats, and physical violence from complete strangers? I'm not safe at home, but I'm not safe outside either. And if I go to someone for help, will they even hear me? Will they get stuck on what they see, or will I have to lie to get served? At Haven, we believe someone coming to us for help should just be able to ask for help and not worry about all of that. And one of the ways we communicate that is our stat sheet has an open-ended field asking for gender. It's a small thing, but it's a hand extended in welcome. And if you make us take that away, it turns into a fist, shoving them out. That's just one example of the harm this order can cause to some of the most vulnerable in our community. Immigration. You know our county's demographics. Months ago, domestic violence providers in other counties started talking about the decrease in Latina clients because people were afraid to access services amid increased activity by ICE and Customs and Border Protection. We hadn't experienced that until now. Our shelter manager told me it's not unusual this time of year for demand to go down a bit, but this year's different, and we haven't been needing to use translation services on our crisis line as much as we usually do. Now, I know ICE is more active in the Central Valley, but I don't know if they are here. I do know people think they are, and if they call a place like ours, they don't know how their information will get used, especially when systems that have always been trusted, like IRS information and Medicaid information, are now open to the feds to use any way they want. HMIS already collects so much personal data. Will that get used to track down people who are undocumented or to revoke status? I don't know, neither do they. What happens when providers are forced to verify citizenship status of every participant coming to them for services? Because that's in there. Again, the most vulnerable in our community, afraid to stay home and afraid to go out. Now, in both these scenarios, following the executive orders could actually violate existing anti-discrimination regulations and set you up for lawsuits. Because if I'm born somewhere else or identify as something other than male or female, I am definitely going to have a different experience under these new provisions. But more importantly, and the thing I want all of you to remember is this. This morning, I heard that one of our values is each person matters. But if you say yes to HUD without fighting as other counties have, you're telling me that I don't matter. You're telling me what safety needs to look like for me doesn't matter. And if the violence I'm experiencing at home feels safer than the violence I might experience if I seek help, then something in this county has gone horribly wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Next up is Ron McMurtry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Ron McMurtry here. Some of my ground has been covered a little bit here. So I have 3 questions, or they may be requests depending on the answers. And this does have to do with the Trump administration's hasty rounding up of immigrants, legitimate or otherwise. Naturally, these folks are fearful, and I've noticed for several past meetings that we haven't seen the usual advocates. Miguel Otero, I think, is one of them, and some of these other folks. I haven't seen them around, and I wonder if they're afraid of entering a government building, with sheriff's deputies around. So I would like to request, if you haven't already looked into this, what's going on with these folks. Are they okay? And also what the scuttlebutt is within their community. I'm sure they talk to each other a little bit. So that just check in. The second thing is farmers that use this labor. How are they being affected? What kind of feedback have you guys heard from farms? And then the third one, and the sheriff, this Resolve 2.0 might have something to do with this, but my third thing is, does the sheriff have an action plan when things get heated, should ICE officers show up in our county and, receive resistance? Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Next up is Karen Clark.
Greetings. Thank you, Board of Supervisors. Thank you for enjoyed your speech today, your address today. Appreciating, Karen Clark, is standing for Labor Relations. I represent 800 people who are employees. I just want to echo some things that you said in your address, Supervisor Condit, and that was that it takes everyone in order to do something. And I just want to say that everyone that you spotlighted had to do with employees as well. And so as a result of reaching out to to those who are under the bridge, those who are on the call in crisis. Thank you for echoing that. But I do want to say that appreciating something that you said in there as well in regards to Supervisor Condit and Supervisor Graywall. And that is that if nothing else, Supervisor Condit actually brings to the Board of Supervisors the echo of the community. And in echoing the community, he also echoes the workers. And so I just wanted to say, as will be on as you have seen if you check your website, that many people have said thank you to because he, as a public official that was voted on, was able to say that, no, I'm going to stand for those persons who are overlooked at times because you're so used to them working that you forget they're working and what happens and what is necessary and to work. Just as you said that Supervisor Graywall brings to the board not vast knowledge of agriculture, vast knowledge of water, that each one of you bring skill sets and mindsets that make this county better. And so as a result of making this county better, I'm just saying for 800 people, don't forget us. So even the invocator or the prayer, don't forget to pray for the workers. Don't forget to pray that the workers actually get home, that the workers actually don't get burnt out, or if they are burnt out, do self-care, that the workers actually who are on the phone crisis after crisis after crisis and have no debriefing anywhere, that they will be able to somehow debrief. And those who are in behavioral health services or social services, that they'll be able to meet the demand demands of the community and not have a caseload of 65, not have a caseload of 45, but be able to do what the budget is saying do, and that's to expand services. So when you are praying for the Board of Supervisors, please pray for the workers, that the workers be strengthened, that the workers make their ends meet, that the workers actually be able to pay for their child care, that the workers actually meet the demands of inflation, that the workers actually are heard and valued and remembered, that when you're making budgets, when you are making decisions, that you actually do something that this gentleman did, the Board of Supervisor Condit, and that was stand not only for community, but stand for the workers as well, who are servicing the community, love the community, are part of the community, and want the community to be able to see not only the Board of Supervisors, but also behavioral health services, social services, be able to hear the crisis line, be able to do that. So when you're doing that, and when the next prayer comes, please tell them, don't forget the workers.
Next up is Tasha Wilson. Tasha Wilson.
I waved my hand to Nick.
If you could just state your name.
Good morning. My name is Nickel Hill. This morning I'm here representing Legacy Alliance Outreach. The reason for me being here today, Legacy Alliance Outreach in the last 90 months, in the last 90 days, has lost $3.5 million in funding. Of that $3.5 million, I'm here and I saw a document where they lost $811,800. In this document, it said that based on the findings of a completed document, and that this completed audit was done on March 25th, 2025. So before I came before you today, Friday, on the 27th of this month, I sat down with Mandeep Dillon and Chris Barnes, which is the auditor and the assistant auditor. I asked them to show me this completed audit. They informed me that there is no completed audit. So, but my reason here is my deep concern regarding this decision and the process that it led to. It's troubling that 3 separate agencies could align themselves with a narrative that appears to be based on an audit that never happened. I'm wondering, how could such a serious and impactful decision be made based on unverified or incomplete findings? The proposed termination puts an immense financial and operational strain on Legacy Alliance Outreach. It's an organization that has been delivering critical services and continues to do so. Our program has positively impacted justice-involved individuals, youth, and underserved communities across this region. There appears to have been a deliberate attempt to disrupt our operations. Key personnel were pressured to leave Legacy Alliance Outreach in what seems to be an orchestrated effort to destabilize the organization. I actually live in Kern County. Before I stepped foot in Stanislaus County, I received a call from Michael Taylor, who is an employee of the county, and told me, do not come to Stanislaus County. Legacy Alliance is closing their doors today. So we also have been attacked with other employees, and they're contacting others in the community with claims that Legacy Alliance Outreach is shutting down. These statements are both false and damaging. So it's deeply disheartening that personal biases or misunderstandings might be contributing to the decisions with such far-reaching consequences. There has been no attempt to clarify concerns directly with our team, and no accountability for those spreading these false and misleading information. I respectfully request a fair and transparent review of the situation and the opportunity to respond to any allegations or concerns before irreversible action can be taken. Legacy Alliance Outreach remains committed to its mission and continues to operate with integrity and impact. And I also want to make notice that Legacy Alliance Outreach is fully cooperative with the County of Stanislaus and the City of Modesto. At this point, we're looking for clarity. We would like to know how could something like this happen. And to be more exact, it was a BSCC contract number 834-22, and it was a total of $811,000, and that was the last grant that Legacy Alliance Outreach lost. And that was during the time when I'm here with Legacy Alliance Outreach. And so today, like I said again, we need clarity on how something like this could be missed with all three agencies. It was in the document stated that the city received the completed audit on March 25th, 2025, and sent this audit to BSCC, and with this information, BSCC terminated the contract for Legacy Alliance. So I know that I can't get answers today, but I would at least like for you to look into it.
You know, Nicole, if I could just really quick, Chair, is that okay? Just real quick, because there's a lot going on here. You know, you and I met in the last 2 weeks.
Correct.
A couple times with Michael, and the audit is still going on. We're still waiting for that to be completed. It's not that there's not an audit. There's allegations, as you know, that happened, and the funding was stopped. And we're waiting for this audit now, and as I understand from a conversation I had in the back of the room a little while ago, that hopefully, again, it's an outside firm that's doing that, outside accounting firm that's doing that. Hopefully we'll have that information this week, and we've been saying that for weeks, but it's out of our hands. We're waiting. A lot of it has to do with the information that they had to gather, and I know you guys have had a hard time gathering that information and getting stuff to them. So we are on this and working very hard on this to get this resolved, and I appreciate your joining the organization. Nick, very much appreciate that. And you just got to give us time to work through this. It's just, like I said, a lot of allegations, a lot of stuff that we need to prove or disprove, and then we'll be able to talk further about this.
Okay, and I completely understand that, but and I'm fully aware that there's an ongoing audit. But in the document, it specifically said a completed audit on March 25th, 2025. That's my concern.
I have no idea what that is. I have no idea what that is.
We will make sure that we send you that document. Thank you so much.
Next up is Sonia White. No comment? Nicole Hill?
That was me.
Okay, got it. Tammy? Anybody named Tammy?
Yes,
like to
I'm right
speak?
here.
Okay, thank you, Tammy.
When the Legacy Outlet, my name is Tammy, and I support Legacy Alliance Outreach. When I walked into this board meeting this morning, I heard you stand up here and talk about supporting the community as a whole, the lowest of the low people in this community. Well, these are those people in Legacy Alliance Outreach. You're talking about spending billions of dollars on these new machines to improve the roads in your county, which is taking away 10 to 15 jobs from people in your community. Instead of 10 to 15 people having that income that then they turn around and spend on childcare, they spend on groceries, they spend on cars and everything else in your community, you're taking it and spending it on one transportation unit to fix one pothole at a time, instead of giving 15 people jobs and incomes in your community. If any of you have driven across Lions Bridge or down Crow's Landing in the last month, you can tell the damage that's been done on that road. But you're spending billions of dollars on a new project for a new road when you can't even fix the roads that are in your community that are damaging cars, damaging your police equipment, your fire equipment, your ambulances, because those roads can't be repaired. And those are the roads that are critical, because those roads lead to the people that need the help the most. Any questions?
Thank you for your comments, Tammy. All right, that is the last card I have. Yeah, anybody would like to make public comment, come on up to the dais.
Good morning, board, and for the record, my name is Anthony. Getting that card a little late there. Thank you, thank you. Starting off, I would like to highlight some positives. Notably, there was a letter of support going around. A lot of Stanislaus County government officials signed it. On this board specifically, I want to highlight Chance and Manny signing a letter affirming the right to peacefully assemble and civic expression. As a government teacher, that's something very personal to me. I don't know if the rest of y'all didn't get the chance to see that letter, but it was rather unfortunate not to see everyone's name on there. The idea of peaceful assembly and civic expression seems pretty universally agreeable on my end. Notably, the letter also mentioned that being without lawful immigration status is a civil violation, not a criminal violation under federal law, and that one's not a matter of opinion, that one's just a matter of fact. Keeping with the positives to start, I'd also like to extend my appreciation to Supervisor Chance Condit for attending the Community Police Review Board meeting here in this chamber last month. If any of the rest of y'all were there and I didn't see you, my apologies. But I think that does speak to the level of commitment of wanting to see more accountability with our Sheriff's Department. Specifically, I heard Sheriff Dirksey's public comment, same as all of you, and I am cautiously optimistic about the development of whatever this extension of Project Resolve might be. Specifically, whatever form this takes, and I recognize he was, just giving public comment. It's not the same as the press statement that I'm sure will be forthcoming. As things stand right now, those meetings need to be public, need to be open, need to be at an accessible time. I love seeing you all here this morning. 9 a.m. on a Tuesday is pretty rough for most residents in this county. 5:30 is still tough. There's never a good time that meets everybody's needs, but I think that should be a serious topic of exploration. And moreover, whatever this Project Resolve 2.0, whatever this ends up being called, is, I'd say that we really need an independent auditor, much in the way that Modesto's Community Police Review Board works with OIR Group. I think that added accountability is quite important. Furthermore, while I appreciate the sheriff's intention to increase communication between the public and law enforcement, I do worry that if this new project is under the sheriff's office directly, it may not be truly independent and thus may not achieve the goal of accountability. Now, to that end, and I would say we need to hold public hearings in every single district. Need to hold multiple public hearings to get input from the community about what does accountability really look like. I'm glad the sheriff wants to take the lead on this, but I think we need to pump the brakes just a little bit and get input from the community on what do we want accountability to look like. How are the residents of Stanislaus County's voice being represented here? Because that starts with an effective conversation. It's clear when we look at cases like the disgraced sex criminal Deputy Morales or the late Sergeant Hutzel who killed his own wife that there is significant room for improvement in our Sheriff's Department. And for many residents, the community and the Sheriff's Department do not have a relationship of trust. It is characterized by a culture of fear. And if we're going to repair that, and it's something that clearly I think every member of this Board of Supervisors, I'm sure the sheriff, every member of this community wants to see that relationship strengthened and repaired. Because right now, it's not in a state of repair, it's in a state of disrepair. So to that end, I urge every member of this board, Again, public hearings in every district for the development of a community sheriff's review board with an independent auditor. That's my vision for that, but maybe others would disagree. If we hold those hearings, we can get a lot more voices in here. So please, work with your counterparts around the state, specifically I'd highlight Modesto's city government, who developed the Community Police Review Board. Do it for our safety, do it for our county's budget, do it for the photo op, do it for a fundraising opportunity, do it just so I go to those meetings instead of this meetings. I don't care why you do it, but it needs to get done. And so please take this to heart. I really think it's a high priority for this community. Hearings in every district. Heck, great chance to talk with your constituents more. I know that's important to every single one of you. So work with the sheriff, work with your counterparts in city government, and let's make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Next up is Joseph Jackson.
I guess I should have anticipated that since you already called the last public comment. Good morning to all of you. I actually wanted to address you on two things. One of them, I wanted to say thank you for the level of transparency and communication that I've received from all of you, having served on the Stanislaus County Parks and Rec Commission and under your district and now yours. It's been great kind of learning and watching the evolution of our county. The last part of it, some of you have probably received a letter that I sent in as it relates to the latest topic of the Sheriff's Office. Personally, I'm a big advocate and supporter of a lot of things, one of them being our Sheriff's Office. Personally, I've had a hand in actually the development of this level of a committee at various levels, at federal, state, and local. I do believe that it should be in the hands of the public, but as my letter very so eloquently states, is one of the things I like for you guys to consider, and really the public to consider, is that when we dive into these exploration missions for the truth, it sometimes comes with an undue burden to the taxpayer, right? The development of an independent office doesn't always, contrary to popular belief, it doesn't always teach us something new. Sometimes it reaffirms what we already know to be true. And so I take that. I would ask that you take that with a grain of salt. But I do believe that there is probably, excuse me, a level of transparency that a board or commission could serve. But I think that the way it's brought about should be really determined by the public, but also should really not add any level of undue burden to the taxpayer. Aside from that, because I am a Parks and Rec Commission member, and I know it's on the agenda, I'd just like to say welcome to July as the official month of Parks and Recreation. That's really all I had.
Thank you, Joseph. Okay, that was my last card. Anybody else like to speak public comment about items not on the agenda? I see none. I'm going to go ahead and close public comment and move on to consent calendar. Before the board takes any action on the consent calendar, does anyone in the audience wish to provide public comment on any matter on the consent calendar? Any supervisor of the pool taking the consent calendar? Item 10, B10. We'll take all other items other than B10.
I'll make a motion to approve all consent items with the exception of B10. Second.
Okay, any public comment? Okay, none, I'll bring it back. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? B10.
Andy, good morning. I know we have a lot of work being done out in Crow's Landing with the Bogey Pool. Very excited about it. Community's excited about it. Just wanted to bring you up for an opportunity to kind of give some details for the community out there, just all the great things that are happening.
Yes, sir. For the 5 million people watching, I'm happy to provide an update on Crow's Landing. Yeah, prime time. Well, I think we should start with saying thank you to both Supervisor Condit and State Senator Ana Caballero for having a vision to get this project done and working on getting a $3 million grant for the project. We've had a great contractor with Marvuli, local contractor just south of Stanislaus County, but in Merced, as well as a great architect in LDA, with one goal of finishing this pool with some time for the community to enjoy it during summer 2025. And as of this morning, we are still on target for that. And so we had one minor 2-week setback to get the septic tank in, so we pushed our date to August 15th. However, we are going to retain the subcontractor who does pool chemicals, which I've learned at home are very important, and make sure that we can be ready to go for this summer. So the pool is on track to be completed August 15th. The Parks Director has informed us just recently that they are getting prepared to work with their partners to be able to have at least a few preview days or the month of September available on there. And then we're very excited that if we go back to what we call Bonita 1.0, which we started working on in 2020, 2021, the state has also provided a grant for $650,000 to add additional amenities in that community. And so we will be adding both an adult and a children's playground. So there'll be an adult exercise area, children's playground. There'll be new benches, new barbecues. And so it'll be something that that community can be really proud of when complete. We're just starting that phase right now. We anticipate that being completed before summer of next year, possibly sooner than that. I just looked at the picture again that they sent me last week from the progress. The building is erected for the pool. The concrete is in the pool. We need to plaster it. The deck is ready to go. We are literally down to the final touches. So something we can be very, very excited about.
Well, thank you again. We appreciate the highlights. And again, thank you to Senator Ana Caballero, who was our champion on this effort. Thank you to your staff, and thank you to our parks team as well. Tara Chumley's done a great job. So again, thank you for delivering.
Appreciate it.
Thank you to Chance for being an advocate, as you had mentioned earlier. Last thing is schedule a ribbon cutting for August 15th, and we think it won't slip.
Right, I'll entertain a motion for B10.
Move to approve.
Have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. All right, moving on. Public hearing to consider the Planning Commission's recommendation of approval of rezone application number PLN 2023-0093 U-Haul, a request to rezone 2 parcels totaling 8.57 acres from Plan Development PD 254 and General Ag A210 to a new PD to allow for development of a mini storage and moving vehicle rental facility located at 4843 McHenry Avenue, State Route 108, between Kiernan Avenue and State Route 219 and Bangs Avenue in the Modesto area, and adoption of a negative declaration for planning and community development. Kristen and Angela.
Good morning, Supervisors, and Council Rose, Superintendents, and members of the public. My name is Kristen, and I, as senior planner, here to present the rezone application for U-Haul. This is a request of the board to rezone 2 parcels for general agriculture and point development to 254 to new plan development in order to allow for the development of a new storage warehouse facility. The 8.5-acre parcel consists of 2 parcels, or project site consists of 2 parcels located at 4843 McHenry Avenue, south of Kingman Avenue, in the city of Modesto, Spearfield, Hills. The project site has a general plan designation of plan development and plan industrial, and a zoning designation of general agriculture and plan development 254, which was approved to allow development for one of the parcels for a new storage facility in 2001, but it subsequently expired due to no having developed. The project site is surrounded by light industrial warehouses and retail commercial uses in all directions. Additionally, an apartment complex, apartment, vacant commercial parcels, and Kingman Avenue to the north, vacant commercial parcels, auto dealerships, and city investors to the south, and McHenry Avenue, a steel fabricator, irrigated orchard, and auto dealerships are to the east. So the project site has frontage on both Kingman Avenue and McHenry Avenue. The project site is currently vacant with the exception of a house, garage, and an auto sales lot, all operated by Robert's Auto Sales, primarily developed on the parcels to the south that expand without permits on the project site. Additionally, an existing stormwater drainage basin serving 12 cans facilities is developed on site. The project proposes to develop the project site with an 18,000 square foot warehouse with storage of portable pod style moving containers, a 130,000 square feet 4-story wall warehouse with indoor accessible mini storage units and retail sales, and and 9 structures totaling 20,000 square feet for outdoor accessible storage units. The balance of the 8.5-acre project site is proposed to be landscaped and paved with 10 piston and parking stalls and used for storage of various mix of vehicles and equipment used for moving purposes, which are available for that. An existing stormwater drainage basin, as mentioned, is currently used for storage of runoff of Union Avenue and is proposed to be relocated and enlarged to accommodate both flow trends and parking space for housing needs. Hours of operation are proposed to be Monday through Sunday year-round, with hours of operation from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And maximum 15 employees will be on site at any given time. Expected daily vehicle trips are 31 vehicle trips on weekdays and 15 vehicles on weekends. Light poles are proposed to be installed in the parking lot, signage will be on the buildings, but no non-use signage is proposed. The site will be served by the city Meadow for water and will be served by an on-site wastewater treatment system, but will be required to have a city sewer when it becomes available. And access is proposed to be taken via 2 driveways, one is right in access restrictions on Union Avenue, and a full access driveway on Union Avenue. Road frontage improvements, including curb gutter and sidewalk, will be required. And additionally, a requirement for public works has been added, requiring dedication of right-of-way to accommodate a future expansion and cul-de-sac for Spires Way, which you can see in the bottom of this screen. A letter received on behalf of Roberts Auto Sales, which operates on and owns 3 parcels immediately adjacent to the south of the project site, expressed concerns about conceptual road dedication for an extension of cul-de-sac to Spires Way that was reviewed on the project site plan we signed previously. And they also expressed concerns over whether the applicant is made aware of future North County corridor and whether it will impact proposed development. So as you can see on the slide, which is also exhibit E4 attached to the report, you can see parcels associated with the Roberts Auto Sales in relation to the project site, as well as the location of Spires Way, which has been there for the side of Roberts Auto Sales parcel 017. The requirement of the project conforming with development standards 21.2 is to dedicate and provide improvement plans for the future build-out of Spires Way, creating a cul-de-sac within part developed on both the project parcel and the Roberts Auto Sales parcel, as mentioned in the previous slide. The letter requested that it be clarified that the cul-de-sac will not be built out to such a time, at least until the Roberts Auto Sales parcel develops. However, that staff would like to point out that the necessary dedication from already been provided via the parcel map with previous Roberts Auto Sales parcel on which the cul-de-sac will eventually be developed. This road reservation on the Roberts Auto Sales site was reflected on the Falls project site to demonstrate what the cul-de-sac's eventual improvement. But again, it's conceptual. The letter also expressed concerns over whether the proposed project applicant is made aware of the future North County corridor and potential impact of the project. As the North County corridor, it's the alignment of state route 108 between Modesto and Northern. The portion of the North County corridor which will eventually be developed adjacent to the project site is phase 4, with development phase 1, and 2, and development until 2028. And no additional right-of-way dedication on the project site has been identified as necessary to accommodate phase 4. However, the applicant has been noticed that at the time it develops, no access on Union Avenue will be allowed. So the proposed access from the abandonment and secondary access at that point will be able to continue future Spires Way build-out. An excerpt of phase 4 can be seen in the slide, which includes conceptual design for some cul-de-sacs, including the bisecting the project site, which have been shown for the purposes of indicating ways to maintain access to property that needs access between avenues. However, these are not final designs, and at the future time that phase 4 develops, designs will be refined to public works staff to identify how properties can maintain access. In this case, for this project site, Spires Way would provide an alternative secondary access point with sufficient limitations of the electricity. So the project was evaluated for consistency with the general plan, including the land use element, proposed plan development designation, and experimental policies. In terms of zoning consistency, the new plan development During the project public hearing, the project representative Alejandro Ibarra spoke in favor of the project and has spoken opposition. At the close of the public hearing, Commissioner Laura asked if Robert's Auto Sales and permits for its presence on the project site, which staff indicated that they had no records of this, but that development of the proposed project is going to be able to expand and commission traffic and further as to the timing of the start date, extension of full staff, however, staff indicated that the timing is unknown at this time, but improvements will be required to install it for the developers and the possibility. Ultimately, on a vote of 8 to 0, the planning commission voted to recommend that the board of supervisors approve the project, and therefore staff recommends that the board allow recommendations 1 through 7 in the agenda item, including findings regarding environmental review, initial study, proposed rehab, introducing rating and reading and adopting the ordinance, and including the effect of the project. And that concludes our presentation.
Any questions from supervisors?
Can I just ask about so I can see the paving, but is there permanent structures that were put up also? On the Roberts Auto Sale side? You said will have to be abandoned.
So whatever, maybe existing housing garage that I believe the office, and there's been change itself, but whether it's permanent.
All right. I'm going to open up public. This is the public hearing. Open up public hearing on this. Anyone like to make comment on this particular agenda item?
Morning, Chair Condit, Supervisors, Dennis Wilson, Horizon Consulting. I co-authored that letter that Ms. and I had talked about with regards to access. We both represent Roberts Auto Sales, and I also have a client up further west on Kiernan that I've spoken to many, Supervisor Grewal and Supervisor Chiesa about. I didn't want to make a on-the-record comment that the applicant fully realizes that he will lose total access to Kiernan, total access to McHenry, and will be dependent entirely on the cul-de-sac extension of Spires Way. And it is causing my client on the corner of Kiernan and Tunson a great deal of trouble because he's now not able to get a takeout loan on a recently completed project that was authorized by this board. And so I think it's important that the applicant realizes that. It's currently affecting my client's takeout loan, and I think it was important to come and make those comments today. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
That's the case. Is it notifying?
There have been conversations with Public Works and Caltrans, and we think that conditions of approval provided by Public Works and I don't know that the disposition of the access necessarily can identify whether that be complete lots of
I realize Phase 4 of the North County Corridor is a long way off, but as I said, it's currently affecting my client right now. So I'm not opposed to their project. Just wanted them to make sure that they understand the Phase 4 consequences. Thank you.
County Council knows Andrew Militsio, Deputy Director of Public Works. This is a kind of an interesting property because it's bounded by two state facilities. McHenry Avenue and Keenan Avenue are both managed by Caltrans. So all the access to these properties are going to be taken from state facilities. The original, what you can see there on your screen right now, is from the North County corridor preliminary plan, so this is a much further future phase out there. It's not really vetted yet. And so what they're providing there is a frontage road, which looks to take down a lot of other businesses that are adjacent to this facility property. What we looked at as part of this application was an extension of Spires Way from the south here, which was already proposed a little bit further to the south on previous maps. And you can see it down on the left-hand side there. So what we did is we just adjusted it to be in line with Spires Way as built by the previous development to the south, and made sure that those properties would be made whole in the future if any access or Caltrans were to, as part of this project, say no access to the train or no access. We wanted to make sure there was some kind of option available to them in the future. And so that's where this cul-de-sac really comes from, is just making sure that everything's being whole. We again don't control access on McHenry or Kiernan, so we look at Caltrans to decide what access is.
Does, but you got to remember what Mr. Wilson was saying, that these are implications. This is going to be 20 years from now. None of us are going to be sitting here, and then they're going to make a decision on this property that may or may not have very good access. So.
Sure. Yeah, and again, as part of any acquisition proceeding or anything like that in the future, that would always. We certainly can't say right now what it's going to look like in the future.
I know there's a rule that you can't not have access, you have to have it in there. So take the land and not lose the access, but it's how good that access is that sounds like it could have a discussion. I know it's very well said discussions who want to get your side of it, looking at the impact of that. So we have to be cognizant of that. If there's at least an alternative plan, there's some sort of access. Did I see the bigger picture of the cul-de-sac again? It's really good.
Yeah, so there's one more property. Spires Way is actually developed all the way up to the property line, the south property line. Spires Way is developed up to a point which is on the south property line of the property south of this property. So there's obviously the new hall project can't do anything with that section in 20 years. Lined up. Some kind of future potential both with that property and for the second property.
Any other public comment? All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. I have a first and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. There are no discussion items, and we do have correspondence and acknowledge receipt of correspondence and refer as recommended on the agenda. Board of Supervisor reports.
I just have a quick report. As we saw recently, the rate increase passed in Diablo Grande, which buys us some time at least through December. So we're going to keep staying proactive in those conversations and try to stay on top of this to remedy other solutions. I know that yesterday Western Hills Water District met with Kern regarding steps forward and as things progress towards that December deadline. And they are meeting with DWR today thanks to Assemblyman Juan Alaniz assisting and arranging that meeting. There are conversations and efforts being made with them possibly becoming a public water contractor with the state of California. So I do want to thank Assemblyman Alaniz for supporting those efforts. And we want to also thank Supervisor Withrow for his continued support throughout this process. So we'll just keep pushing forward through December as that progresses. And then I do want to end on a high note. We had a community cleanup in series over the weekend. It was our 24th District 5 cleanup. We filled 11 bins total, which was a huge success for the city of Ceres and for the residents out there. I want to thank all the community members for their participation on that day. I do want to thank specifically our volunteers who showed up: Mason Sanchez, Manuel Serrano, Jesse Casey, Ceres City Council Member Rosalinda Vieira, as well as my field representatives, Jackie Paul and Noelia Lopez. So it was a great day. We filled 11 bins, and we look forward to the 25th one coming up soon.
Thank you, Chair. I know this past week, the Stanislaus County Grand Jury delivered a report, namely one addressing the Stanislaus Council of Governments. I do want to let the public know the chair of our body is also the chair of Stanislaus Council of Governments, and he has assigned a ad hoc committee with both Supervisor Withrow and I appreciate our colleagues who are also on the council's regional policy board as well. We will be looking at this grand jury report, having a timely response, making sure that all of the issues that the taxpayers and the grand jury have brought up are addressed. We want to be transparent in this. We want to make sure that there's accountability, and that if there was any misdoings on any part, that strict actions are taken. But I just want to let you know that both Supervisor Withrow and I are on that ad hoc committee, and we look forward to working with all the members of the Regional Policy Board and staff from StanCog to deliver a timely report to the Stanislaus Grand Jury. On a high note, 4th of July parade coming up this Friday in Modesto. I love that parade. Unfortunately, I will be out of town, but I know my colleagues will represent us well with their waves and making sure that the Stanislaus County Board of Supervisors is well represented at the 4th of July parade in downtown Modesto this Friday. And anybody that can make it out, I encourage you. It's going to be a little hot, but it's always a fun parade and very enjoyable for a family. Thank you.
I didn't know you were going to be there. Sorry.
That's the first I'm hearing.
Yeah. I just want to really quick, thanks Betty for that, just really quick, and thanks Chance for what you're doing out there with Capitol. My wife and I attended a dinner on Thursday, I think it was last Thursday night, and it was for the retirement of Michael Douglas. And Michael Douglas has been here several times and does the prayer and has been involved in the prayer before our meeting starts. And he's involved in, or he has started and ran what's called Advancing Vibrant Communities. And it's been 23 years that he's got that started and run that organization. He works very hard to help disadvantaged communities with just all kinds of things, repairing of houses, furniture, and there was just a group of individuals, probably 50 individuals who were at that, and over the years have worked with Advancing Vibrant Communities to try to help provide for our disadvantaged communities. And these are just made up of a lot of retired people who have stepped up to help. So it was just a very heartwarming ceremony, kind of acknowledging Michael Douglas and the group who've done all this through Advancing Vibrant Communities. We're going to very much miss him, and hope somebody can step up and fill the gap that's going to be missing as Michael retires and moves on. So anyway, very nice celebration, and just a shout out to Michael Douglas and his organization, Advancing Vibrant Communities, for all they've done for in our county for the last 23 years.
Thank you very much. Chair, first of all, great speech, very inspiring. I'm going to walk away with a smile on my face today. That's great. Some good news. We received $67 million in trade corridor enhancement program this last week to do what we consider the third phase or the third segment of Highway 132 West, which will be Dakota Gates. It's separated, and there's no access, so it's a safety project. I had the opportunity to go and speak for the CTC and on that day. It was a 4-hour wait to get in 2 minutes, so it wasn't a great use of my time, but for $67 million, I was getting there another day. The second thing is the next day, we received $15 million local partnership competition program for, it's the final piece of financing for the 7th Street Bridge. I was thinking of Jenny Neuer and what an advocate she was, and just talking through the issue, but it's finally submitted a proposal for a very good hedged area, but with conjunction with Caltrans because it's right off of the state highway. So we were very successful, $85.3 million total. We were awarded, so look forward to the project starting very soon. And then the last thing is, both Buck and I were in the Sherlock 4th of July parade, although it was a week early and very warm that day. But something good that came out of that is that last year, the Air Board subsidized drone shows to try to get people to stop or to change behavior, I guess is the right word, change behavior on using these large fireworks shows for air quality in the valley, especially during the summer. And we were hoping to essentially put enough money out there to build capacity of the drone industry. And so Sherlock's 4th of July parade was chosen as one of those test areas. So they held their parade a week early, and it was a third the price of last year. So it actually worked. Government the money being spent to build capacity, and then step away from funding to the same level, and if we were successful last year, we had an opportunity to get some money because it's been less. But it actually worked. We're hoping to see more people utilizing the drone tech program. It's pretty amazing ability to watch one. So I like highlighting successes. There's been failures along the way, but we clearly talked about those.
All right. Well, I'm glad that's over. And there was a lot of work, a lot of people helped me put that together, from Carissa Lucas, Cameron Billings. Thank you guys for your help. You guys were connected at my side the entire time and putting that together, and I appreciate your help. Tina, I see you back there. Thank you for your help. And Jody, thank you for your help on that. And all the support from the board, I really appreciate it. That was one of my first ones. And boy, I tell you what, I'd rather go in 100 burning buildings than I have to do that. We got through it. And I'll just end with July 4th, Independence Day is coming up. Celebrate safely, safe and sane fireworks. Anything that leaves the ground is illegal. Don't use it. There's a lot of enforcement out, and there are some hefty fines that go with it. So to that end, we're going to go ahead and, oh no, we got you. Go ahead, I'm sorry. Jumping ahead of myself.
I'll go real quick. I think everyone is aware we do not have a federal budget, but we do have a very new state budget. Today's the first day of the fiscal year, and the state landed it right on a dime in terms of approving the budget just prior to the fiscal year. Our departments are all busy looking through the details that are just emerging around what impacts might look like for the county organization, and more importantly, the community that we serve. I do just want to highlight one very obvious impact that's in front of us, and that is that the new state budget does not allocate another round of HAP funds in this current year. Those are the housing and homeless funds that we have relied upon on an annual basis to support many shelter activities in our community. I think the belief from the state is that the timing of the funds for the following year will try to ensure that there's no gap in service support. It doesn't appear that from our initial assessment that would be true here in Stanislaus County. But again, we're going to take some time to be able to understand what the implications are for the state, not including any of these important funds. I know that this will be one of the primary things you hear about impacts up and down the state are the potential for immediate impacts to homeless service programs that have relied on HAP funds now for many, many years. So I think other than that, I think that's the conclusion of my report. Thank you.
All right, we're going to go ahead and adjourn, and we do have a closed session.
Yes, we have closed session this morning. We have several items to discuss. We have a conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to government section 54956.9 subdivision 1. We have 3 cases to consider there. The County of Stanislaus versus Wolfgang Bach et al. Lopez et al. Versus County of Stanislaus. And the last one was Julio Sanchez versus County of Stanislaus. The case numbers and courts are listed there in the agenda. The second item is conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. The agency negotiators and the employee organizations are listed there in the agenda, which are a few. Then the board will sit as in-home supportive services public authority, and they will have a closed session regarding the conference with labor negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. Negotiators and organizations listed.
Any public comment on closed session agenda? Okay, we're adjourning into closed session.